In the summer of 1218, a caravan crossed the deserts of Central Asia. Its destination was Otrar, a wealthy frontier city of the Khwarazmian Empire. Before we uncover how one decision helped destroy an entire empire, subscribe to Lost to History and leave a like if you enjoy forgotten stories from the past. The merchants carried silver, fine textiles, ceramics, and other valuable goods. They also carried a message of friendship from a powerful ruler in the east. His name was Genghis Khan, founder of the rapidly expanding Mongol Empire. But Otrar's governor, Inalchuk, viewed the arriving merchants with deep suspicion. He accused them of being spies sent to study the empire's defenses. The caravan was detained, and its valuable goods were confiscated by the authorities. According to medieval accounts, nearly everyone in the caravan was then executed. One man reportedly escaped and carried news of the disaster across the steppe. When the message reached Genghis Khan, he did not immediately declare war. His armies were still fighting the Jin dynasty in northern China. Instead, the Khan sent 3 envoys to the Khwarazmian royal court. They demanded that Inalchuk be surrendered and punished for his actions. Sultan Muhammad II refused to hand over his frontier governor. Several accounts claim one envoy was killed and the others publicly humiliated. To the Mongols, attacking an ambassador was an attack on the Khan himself. A dispute at one frontier city was about to engulf an entire empire. At the time, Khwarazm controlled an enormous part of Central and Western Asia. Its cities stood along some of the richest branches of the Silk Road. Bukhara was celebrated as a center of religion, scholarship, and commerce. Samarkand was surrounded by gardens, workshops, markets, and formidable defensive walls. Gurganj connected trade routes between Persia, China, the steppe, and distant Russia. Wealth entered the empire through merchants carrying silver, silk, spices, and ceramics. Khwarazm also possessed experienced cavalry, archers, and heavily defended urban centers. On a map, it appeared stronger than the young Mongol state. But the impressive map concealed political divisions spreading beneath the surface. Sultan Muhammad had expanded his territory faster than he could truly unite it. Many provincial governors remained more concerned with protecting their own authority. Military commanders competed for influence instead of preparing a unified defense. The Sultan's mother, Turkan Khatun, controlled her own powerful political network. She and her son relied upon different commanders, officials, and regional loyalties. The Khwarazmian Empire was vast and prosperous but dangerously divided. Genghis Khan may not initially have wanted another major war in the West. Peaceful trade offered access to Central Asian wealth without opening another front. But after Otrar, diplomacy was replaced by preparation for a massive invasion. Across the Mongolian steppe, cavalry units began gathering around their commanders. Riders prepared bows, saddles, supplies, and several horses for the campaign. Unlike many armies, the Mongols could divide into independent but coordinated columns. Scouts and mounted messengers allowed distant units to exchange information rapidly. Engineers from earlier conquests helped the Mongols attack heavily fortified cities. Their strength came not only from numbers but speed, discipline, and flexibility. Sultan Muhammad now faced the most important military decision of his reign. He chose to distribute his soldiers among the empire's major cities. One large field army became a collection of isolated urban garrisons. Each fortress appeared strong, but the distances between them became a weakness. The Mongols could surround one city while the others remained unable to help. Genghis Khan had been given the freedom to choose each battlefield. In 1219, Mongol forces appeared before the walls of Otrar. The city that had started the conflict resisted for several difficult months. Its defenders understood that surrender could bring severe consequences for their governor. Eventually, part of the garrison abandoned the defense and left the city. Inalchuk withdrew into the central citadel with the soldiers who remained loyal. After continued resistance, the citadel was taken and Otrar finally fell. A later legend claimed Inalchuk was executed using molten silver. Historians cannot verify that dramatic story, but his city was unquestionably lost. Khwarazmian commanders expected the main invasion to follow the Sir Darya River. Their fortified positions guarded the most obvious roads into the empire. Genghis Khan instead redirected part of his army toward the Kizilkum Desert. The defenders believed this vast, dry region formed a reliable natural barrier. Mongol cavalry traveled through the desert in a long, disciplined column. Local guides reportedly helped them find the scattered wells and hidden oases. Beyond the dunes stood Bukhara, one of Khwarazm's greatest cities. The Mongols emerged behind the frontier defenses with almost no warning. Citizens on Bukhara's walls suddenly saw enemy cavalry outside their city. The roads were blocked, the gates closed, and the city became isolated. Part of the garrison attempted to escape, but its formation quickly scattered. The inner citadel continued resisting after much of Bukhara had been occupied. Eventually, organized resistance ended, and another imperial center was lost. Genghis Khan then turned his attention toward the far greater prize of Samarkand. Samarkand possessed imposing walls and what appeared to be a powerful garrison, but its defenders came from different groups with uncertain loyalty to the Sultan. The Mongols surrounded the city using soldiers, specialists, and siege equipment. They also spread rumors and exploited divisions within the Khwarazmian leadership. The city's defensive unity began collapsing before its physical walls were overcome. Within a short time, much of Samarkand's garrison surrendered or abandoned resistance. Khwarazm had now lost Bukhara and Samarkand before organizing a decisive counterattack. Sultan Muhammad fled west with a royal entourage that continually grew smaller. Genghis Khan ordered 2 commanders, Jaybey and Subutai, to pursue him. Their forces moved rapidly across Persia, following every report of the fugitive ruler. The Sultan traveled from refuge to refuge as his authority disintegrated behind him. The man who had ruled an empire could no longer defend his crown. Muhammad eventually reached a remote island in the Caspian Sea. There, isolated from his armies and reportedly suffering from illness, he waited. Sultan Muhammad II died in late 1220, far from his lost capitals. In the north, Mongol armies advanced toward the wealthy city of Gurganj. Rivers, canals, and marshy ground made the surrounding terrain difficult for cavalry. Even the Mongol princes reportedly disagreed over how the campaign should proceed. Gurganj nevertheless became isolated within a tightening ring of Mongol forces. When the city finally fell, written sources described destruction on a terrible scale. Medieval chroniclers recorded casualty figures that reached extraordinary and improbable totals. Modern historians warn that these enormous numbers should not be accepted literally. What remains clear is that trade, government, and urban life were severely disrupted. Large numbers of people were displaced as established regional networks collapsed. The Mongol advance then moved deeper into Khorasan toward Merv and Nishapur. Several cities experienced conquest, rebellion, and renewed attacks during the wider campaign. Some settlements eventually recovered, while others never regained their former importance. Yet the Khwarazmian dynasty still possessed one determined surviving leader. Jalal al-Din gathered soldiers and regional allies among the mountains of Afghanistan. In 1221, his coalition confronted a Mongol force near Parwan. The battle ended in a rare and significant Khwarazmian victory. For a moment, organized resistance appeared capable of recovering from disaster. But disputes soon erupted over captured horses and the division of spoils. The fragile coalition broke apart just when unity mattered most. Many allies departed, leaving Jalal al-Din with a much smaller army. Genghis Khan personally led Mongol forces south to confront him. The opposing armies eventually met near the banks of the Indus River. Mongol formations pressed Jalal al-Din's reduced force back toward the water. Defeated but still alive, he escaped across the river into India. Even hostile chroniclers remembered his escape as an act of extraordinary courage. Jalal al-Din later returned west and attempted to rebuild his father's state. He captured territory, but never restored the unity of the old empire. In 1231, while fleeing another Mongol advance, Jalal al-Din was killed. With his death, the Khwarazmian dynasty reached its final end. It is tempting to blame the entire catastrophe on the governor of Otrar, Could one official's decision really destroy one of Asia's greatest empires? The massacre of the Caravan was the spark, but not the underlying cause. Khwarazm had expanded faster than it could integrate its conquered territories. Its ruler, royal court, generals, and provincial authorities remained deeply divided. Its armies were isolated while Mongol forces stayed mobile and connected. Genghis Khan did not merely overpower Khwarazm, he exposed its existing weaknesses. The empire broke along political fractures that had formed before the invasion. Its former territory opened a corridor into Persia, Afghanistan, and the West. Jabi and Subutai continued around the Caspian Sea into the Caucasus. Later Mongol campaigns would reach Baghdad, Russia, Poland, and Hungary. The fall of Khwarazm permanently changed the political map of Eurasia. A single caravan at Otrar had begun a chain of continental consequences. Today, the ruins of Otrar remain silent beneath the Central Asian sky. A confiscated fortune, a rejected letter, and a broken crown tell its story. Was this collision inevitable, or could one different decision have changed history?